What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so yeah, there's an open call for popping shots off at DHS officials, as a matter of fact, coming from some of the gangs in Chicago. That's a fascinating story, but that's not the story exactly that we're covering today. We're covering this: shots fired at Border Patrol agents during immigration operation in Little Village, DHS says. Now, once again, you know, they've been heavily manipulating these news articles, but check this out.
Surveillance video from the store shows Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bobino walking in with masked federal agents this morning. Macias says agents came to buy a drink and were denied service.
There were about 10 agents that walked in here, and our cashier that was working in the morning, she told them, like, you need to get out. When Bobino was outside, my dad was telling him, like, get off of my property.
A few feet away on 26th and Kedzie, chaotic moments played out. A crowd gathered after federal officers allegedly detained a young woman. Cell phone video captures Bobino with a tear gas canister in his hand. The Department of Homeland Security says Border Patrol was carrying out immigration enforcement in the area when an unknown male driving a black Jeep fired shots at agents and fled the scene. An unknown number of agitators also threw a paint can and bricks at Border Patrol's vehicles. 25th Ward Alderman Byron Siccho Lopez says cell phone video recorded by a bystander shows a different story.
It's very clear. They came out of the vehicles, pointed weapons, and they used tear gas at people.
In the chain of events, a Chicago police officer who had been called to the intersection for crowd control was hit by a car. He was taken to the hospital to be treated. Over at 26th and Pulaski, 22nd Ward Alderperson Mike Rodriguez says agents took another person into custody. Agents are seen throwing an object out the car window into a crowd before a loud bang goes off, followed by smoke.
They unleashed a flash band, a flash grenade upon me that landed a couple feet away, where there was also a family in a vehicle. And the family in the vehicle had a 6-year-old son who breathed in the air from this, or the gases from this flash grenade.
Yeah. These insane crackpots are going to get somebody hurt, y'all. These people, they think they're fighting for justice because, oh, ICE is going after the migrant community. No, they're not. They're not going after the migrant community at all. They're going after criminal aliens. Criminal aliens are not migrants. Not in the least, folks. This is all insane. It is ramping up in Chicago, and that's crazy to say because I've been saying that for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks now. Oh, it's been slowly just ramping up, and now they're popping shots off. They're running over Chicago police officers. They're ramming their car into DHS vehicles. It is utter chaos, and they are getting admonished on a constant basis. You got judges telling DHS officials, well, you can't use tear gas at all, ever, unless you give warnings. Like, what do you do when you get hit with a rock or you get hit with a brick or something like that? Can you throw tear gas at that point? What do you do when 30 or 40 individuals just come and swarm your vehicle, or hundreds of people come and swarm DHS officials, yelling and screaming in their face? What are you supposed to do at that point? According to that judge, they can't use tear gas. These people are obstructing federal law enforcement, and they are not being allowed to use the tools to be able to do their job. Once again, like I always say, I wish they would just start arresting every single one of these people. But then you get crowds and crowds and crowds of people yelling and screaming at them, trying to assault DHS officials, and it's utterly insane. I really think Donald Trump needs to invoke the Insurrection Act and get the National Guard in there as soon as possible to bring order back from all of this chaos. And what's fascinating about this is these local officials right up in Chicago, they're blaming all of this on DHS. It's their fault for doing their job and trying to do what Donald Trump got voted for and take criminals out of this country and deport every single one of them. It's their fault. No, it's not DHS's fault for doing their job. That's what they're mandated to do by federal law. If you don't like that law, lobby Congress to change it, but I can guarantee you they won't, folks. They will not change that law. That law will never be changed. Because if we do not have borders, that's essentially what that would mean, is they're basically stating to the world that we no longer have sovereign territory. That's what that would say to the rest of the world. If we do not have borders, we do not have a country. This is an insane news article, y'all. Let's get into this because there's a lot here. Check it out. Someone fired shots at Customs and Border Patrol agents on Chicago's southwest side, the Department of Homeland Security said. A responding Chicago police officer was injured during the incident, officials said. The incident happened as federal agents launched several operations Saturday in the Little Village neighborhood, as part of Operation Midway Blitz, leading to a very tense moments between agents and community members and business owners. Now, why would that be? Right? What would you think? Why would there be tense moments between community members and DHS officials? It doesn't make any sense. Why would these people get in the way of DHS officials? That doesn't make sense, folks. They are obstructing, once again, and they are assaulting ICE. But the corporate press isn't going to tell you these things. The headline was that somebody got shot at. And now they're telling you there was a confrontation between community members and DHS. Well, why were those community members confronting ICE in the first place? For no apparent reason. Because they're insane. And they think that these criminal aliens they're just residents. They're trying to claim that these people are American citizens in a lot of cases. Oh, well, I saw them detaining American citizens. So what? Yeah, if you throw a rocket at ICE, you're going to get detained. These are federal law enforcement officers. But these people, they don't seem to understand that. They think they can do whatever they want. Once again, folks, I really wish, I don't know why Donald Trump is holding out on this, why he does not invoke the Insurrection Act and send a National Guard into Chicago to clean up the streets. In a statement posted to X, DHS said agents were conducting operations near 26th Street and Kedzie Avenue in the Little Village neighborhood when the shooting happened. An angry crowd gathered after a federal officer allegedly detained a young woman near 26th Street and Kedzie. Border Patrol Commander Greg Bavino was there. He said he could be seen in cell phone video with an apparent tear gas canister in his hand. So what? Is that some sort of indictment? I don't understand why they put that in here. Just because the judge said they can't use tear gas in certain instances, like against innocent, peaceful protesters, right? But these people are never just innocent, peaceful protesters. There's always somebody in the crowd that will throw a rock. And if you don't know who threw the rock, you're being assaulted, right? But you don't know who did it. So you disperse that crowd. Residents demanded the detained woman's release while in pursuit of their caravan. What? Why were they pursuing DHS? Once again, do you see how insane this is? These people not only swarm DHS, start yelling and screaming at them, but then when they get in their vehicle to leave, they follow them. This isn't just peaceful protesters, y'all. During the incident, DHS says an unknown male was driving a black Jeep, fired shots at agents, and fled the scene. DHS also said an unknown number of agitators threw a paint can and bricks at Border Patrol vehicles. Alderman Byron Sitchko Lopez says cell phone video recorded by a resident shows something different. Yeah, but you know what's fascinating about that? They're not going to show us what that cell phone video is. They're saying, well, it shows something totally different. Well, prove it. That's what I would like to say. Prove it. Don't just say it. It's very clear. They came out of the vehicles pointing their weapons and they used tear gas on people, Sitchko Lopez said. Yeah, so what? Why were they pointing their weapons at people, Sitchko Lopez? Maybe because they were throwing bricks and paint cans at DHS officials. These people are nuts, y'all. CPD officials confirmed to ABC7 that Chicago police officers responded to the scene for a report of shots fired, and there are no reports of anyone struck by gunfire. Moments later, a Chicago police officer who had been called to the intersection for crowd control was hit by a vehicle. Another officer at the scene told ABC7. CPD officials later also confirmed an officer who was conducting traffic control was accidentally struck by a GMC pickup truck driven by a 20 20-year-old female. The CPD officer had minor injuries and was taken to the hospital in good condition. The driver was given 2 citations, and detectives are investigating. More chaos ensued when CPB agents appeared to use tear gas as they took another person into custody near 26th and Pulaski, all under the watchful eye of the agency's helicopter. Right. Once again, folks, they're trying to say that ICE is, not conducting themselves in a professional manner. But hang on just a second. They're wearing body cameras. They know that there's constantly crowds of people with cell phones following them around all over the place. They are being scrutinized more than a culture sample at a science lab, for crying. They're just under the watchful eye of everybody in the area. And they're trying to say that ICE is acting unprofessionally here. Like they're doing things that they're not supposed to. There's impropriety, malfeasance going on or whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. These people are being scrutinized to the 10th degree, to the nth degree, or whatever you want to call it, right? And there's no proof of any of this, right? They say, oh, well, the video shows something different. Well, show me the freaking video. I would love to see it. Because I can almost guarantee you any video that they come up with is going to start with Greg Bavino or somebody with ICE throwing tear gas at a crowd. They're not going to show you what preceded those events. They're just going to show you the tear gas getting thrown. It's insane. It really is. It's just been terrible to see what ICE is doing to our communities. Resident Huberton Hensler said, "We're scared for our neighbors. We're scared for our friends." Yeah, but if your friends and your neighbors are criminal aliens, they are not supposed to be here. But if you're talking about American citizens or legal permanent residents of the United States, they have nothing to worry about. But these people don't seem to get that. Also Saturday morning, surveillance video from the something, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, in Little Village shows Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bavino walking to the store with, yeah, we already saw that in the video. There were 10 agents. It was unclear, blah, blah, blah. The person who allegedly fired the shots at agents remains at large, DHS said. DHS added, this incident is not isolated and reflects a growing and dangerous trend of violence and obstruction. Over the past 2 months, we've seen an increase in assaults and obstruction targeting federal law enforcement during operations. These confrontations highlight the dangers of our agents face daily and the escalating aggression toward law enforcement. The violence must end. Yeah, it's fascinating, y'all. It really is. These people are insane. And, it really is funny how they're trying to portray this whole narrative right here that, oh, these innocent, peaceful protesters are just being assaulted by ICE for no apparent reason. Once again, like I always say, you break that down logically, it doesn't make any sense. Because ICE are doing a job, right? They must go out and get these criminal aliens. Why would they bother with bullying protesters? Why would they bother with that when they have a job to do? Hang on just a second. But we've seen video after video after video of these people actually obstructing federal law enforcement. And they think that they are just peaceful protesters when doing this. But I guess they don't realize that obstruction is a law. You're violating a law because you're obstructing federal law enforcement here, and you can't do that. You can actually go to jail for that. But they don't seem to get that. They don't seem to understand that you can't obstruct federal law enforcement and think that nothing is going to happen. Of course they're going to fire tear gas. You won't get out of the damn way. When these people go to get in their vehicles to leave a scene after detaining somebody and you surround their vehicle and you're banging on their vehicle, what do you expect them to do? They must leave to go drop this detainee off at a detention facility. Do you expect them just to sit there and let you bang on their vehicle forever? That's what they expect. That's not going to happen. Of course they're going to throw a flashbang, tear gas, pepper spray, something to get you out of the way so stop obstructing. They literally can't arrest everybody. I would love it if they could. I would love to see all these people get arrested. Anybody, like I always say, that just barely crosses that threshold of obstruction, arrested. Boom. And it's something else they'll love to use in these news stories. Oh, well, they detained a bunch of American citizens. ICE detained American citizens. Well, what does that make you think? Most people would jump to a conclusion that they're deporting American citizens because that's what ICE does. ICE deports people, deports criminal aliens. But that's not the case. They are federal law enforcement. They can most certainly arrest anybody that violates a federal law. As a matter of fact, they can detain anybody they want to. Once again, this is law enforcement here. You know, this is not posse comitatus, if you will. These people actually have a job to do, and they will be able to do their job. It's just truly insane, y'all, and it blows my mind every single day. I hear these stories and these people just blatantly lying about their involvement. And, you know, the corporate press trying to drum all this up like these peaceful protesters are just innocent. Like, why? Why would federal law enforcement go after these people for no apparent reason? It doesn't make any sense at all. Like, they have a job to do and they're trying to do their job and you guys are obstructing them. That's why you got detained. That's why you got tear gassed. It's not because you were just standing there yelling. No, it's because you were obstructing them. I love it, y'all. I really do. Like I said, I think Donald Trump needs to invoke the Insurrection Act, bring in the National Guard, and put these people down, y'all. Like, seriously. He must get control of this situation in Chicago. He must. But I think that's all I got on this one. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section, down in the doobly diddle, or whatever. It's wild. It really is. This is just craziness. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. Click that join button. Sign up and become a member. It's the best way to help this channel expand and grow. But you guys remember that, you know, God has a plan for all of us, y'all. He really does. And we must have faith that God's going to carry that plan out for the betterment of ourselves, y'all. And He loves each and every one of you also. Just remember that, y'all. Y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.